Mahalo, Zeke. Gosh, we come downstairs from the gym and I feel like we're in a different show all of a sudden. But aloha, as Zeke said, I'm Mahina Martin, Director of Public Affairs in the Office of Mayor Bisson. Mayor is unable to join us this evening. He is actually in Japan and returning this weekend. He is there at the invitation of the Japanese government. He's joined by folks from our Office of Recovery, including the head of our infrastructure branch and Council Member Tamara Paulton. They're there as part of a cohort of leaders and professionals. They're taking an educational learning trip for the region of Tohoku in Japan. If you remember in 2011, that area experienced an earthquake and a devastating tsunami. So, at the invitation of the Japanese government, our team went up to learn from them the lessons learned in response as well as recovery from their community, which has many similarities to Hawaii as well, including the need for cultural sensitivity and working within different ethnicities. We are very, very happy that we were able to take advantage of this invitation. So Mayor Bisson will be back. I will tell him that you all had a party in our hall without him for the first time, and you will see that people will be arriving a little late as we bring people down from who shows up upstairs. So, as always, we want to remind you that there's crisis and counseling support here at every meeting that we have. There in the back on the far, my right corner, your left, if you're facing the front here, is a table with our faith community. If you need support and you would like to join in, please feel free as always. We also have crisis counselors here in the back area. If you wave, they're way in that back corner waving at us. Thank you. They look so friendly. Double wave, okay. But please go and visit them and see them. They will be here throughout the meeting as well as after the meeting. I want to bring attention to you. We have a camera crew here this evening from Frontline PBS, national media outlet. They are working on a story and a documentary. If you do not wish to appear in the PBS film that they're going to produce, please raise your hand. Their crew will identify you and remove you from their footage. If you also would not like to be here in this room, you have the option, of course, of watching it live. We are live streaming on Akaku as always, and we're also on the county social media pages, on Facebook in particular, so you can always watch it there. But we welcome the crew from Frontline PBS here with us to tell our story. We appreciate and mahalo them for their sensitivity and also for their understanding, for the compassion that we would want the entire world to have for all of you, the survivors of Lahaina, as well as Kula from August 8th. Oh, no, right. Want to remind you again that we are uh, supportive of calling 211. Where's Malia Davison? She's been here at every meeting, but 211, if you need case management help, you call, you follow the prompts, and someone will answer it live and support you and try to answer any questions you have that need special attention. So please, please dial 211 if ever you need. That goes for all of you here as well as those folks following us online. And as Zeke said, congratulations to the class of 2024. Very excited, but especially for Lahaina. Lahaina Luna's graduation is next week. We will not have a community meeting next week. It's a busy week. Lahaina Luna has their graduation on Sunday. Monday's a holiday. Thursday, as you'll hear a little later, we're going to announce a homeowners webinar that the county is hosting. It's online. And then Saturday, we're going to resume the neighborhood planning workshops again. So busy week. So we thought the last thing you want is one more meeting to go to. So we're going to give you a little bit of a reprieve because next week is busy, a lot of graduation gatherings. Please be careful during graduation time. Small towns, it's not just Lahaina Luna. I know I see a lot of you, you have Ohana, Maui High, Bowen High, almost every school here, Kamehameha, you name it. So I just want you to know that we're mindful of that. Tonight, you're going to hear an update on debris clearing, the status of Kilohana and Kala'i Ola housing projects from our folks at the state and from Army Corps of Engineers as well. We'll hear a little bit from EPA on an update on their work. We were expecting an update from Four Leaf, from Mike Renner of Four Leaf, who's operating the county's recovery permitting center. However, he is delayed in Kihei, and he may not make it this evening. If he gets here a little later, if we'll tell him to keep making his way to Lahaina, then he might be able to support us in the question and answer period. Um, and of course, we've had a number of questions about the status of Kamehameha III. They hosted a meeting last night as well. We're grateful that the complex superintendent is here tonight. She's going to share with you, those of you who went to the DOE meeting, you'll hear the same information. But for those who did not, as well as those watching us live stream on Akaku and on our social media pages, you'll be able to hear the status of site selection and DOE looking for input on where does Kamehameha, the third school, go in its future. So that's an important discussion. We'll also hear from Food Bank, and we'll talk a little bit about the webinar that's coming up for homeowners. I did want to tell you that last week we announced that we issued the first permit issued out of our recovery permitting center. Very exciting. Why is it exciting? Because all of you know, historically, it's taken us almost 300 days to do a permit. We're still doing our best operationally, but in recovery for Lahaina and Kula, we have moved forward for expedited processing. I see people waving. Is this family here? Oh, Alexander's? Wait, how about a hand of applause? They got their permit. Almost like the lottery, yeah? Well, through today, from the permitting office, what we've heard is that 3 permits have been issued. Of course, the Alexander Ohana has been the first one. They're still getting applications. 54 have been received. 33 are in review process. So this recovery permitting center is for you. This is where you go to have your questions and the help that you need. There are not going to be cookie cutter answers for everything. So we encourage you to connect with them. If you have SMA specific questions, they will be able to direct you to which office in the Office of Planning that can help you again with those specific questions. So we're just going to keep going with it and use them the best way we can. They are looking to open a Lahaina office. I believe, it's a premium, but they're looking forward to aiming for July. They just opened the one over at our Kahalui Center in, where you get your driver's license. We call it the Kahalui Service Center, the county's one. So go there. That's where they're located. And I want to show you this. This was last night's meeting for the Department of Education. So those of you, if you're in this photo and you're here again, you have a busy week. But we're going to hear from Superintendent Rebecca Winkie again to talk a little bit about that this evening. And something exciting was announced today by Alaska Airlines. So we were very excited to tell you about this. This is the Maui Care Flights program by Alaska Air, supported also by Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, CNHA. If you go to helpingmaui.org/Maui Care Flights, you will get information on Alaska Airlines program that will contribute airline flights to Lahaina to survivors of the wildfire. It is their gift. There are round trip tickets. My understanding is there are a few thousand available of these tickets. There's a particular program part that involves a number of folks being gifted a flight to, is it Disneyland or Disney World? Disneyland, supported by Marriott as well, Marriott Hotel. So I want to tell you that this is great news, just announced today. See what you get when you come. You can learn about this, okay? So go to helpingmaui.org/Maui Care Flights. You'll see the application, you'll get the information. Okay, this is mahalo, big mahalo to Alaska Airlines. Oops. Sorry, you get to stare at it a little longer. Okay. As a follow-up, the first homeowners meeting we had so many people. We had almost 400 people attend that meeting. We also had a lot of people say, I'm in another state, or I'm living on Hawaii Island for a little while temporarily. So what we're gonna try a webinar this time. Okay, that way everybody, whether you're in California, East Coast, Canada, Hilo, Honolulu, Kauai, I'm gonna assume you're not on Niihau, but if you're somewhere else than Maui, we're going to try something to help everybody. So Thursday, May 30th. On Monday, we're going to send out the link on mauirecovers.org to get on that online meeting. It's a webinar. So log in early. Our infrastructure team is going to prepare some presentations. They're going to help answer questions. There's going to be a way to do that. Some of you had questions at last night's well-attended workshop hosted by AIA, the American Institute of Architects. Those questions we forwarded on to the infrastructure team, public works, water, environmental management, all of them. So they are looking at those and trying to incorporate that. So webinar, don't come to the Civic Center on Thursday and don't come here on Wednesday either. Nobody will be here. But on the webinar, look for the link, log in early. It's going to be, I believe, through WebEx. Yeah, WebEx. So you have to have that on your computer as well. Okay, so we're pretty excited about it. Here's a QR code if you have a question. Stephanie there from Office of Recovery has a half sheet form. If you want to just write your question in anticipation of the homeowners webinar, please go see them afterwards and fill that out. We are resuming neighborhood planning workshops. Yay. Every single one of them has had almost 200 people. So it's been semi-reunion. So the team wants to let you know that we have 3 more scheduled in June. They will all be at Lahaina Luna's cafeteria, all at 3 o'clock to 5:30. Come at 2:30 if you like talk story and do just a nice time to spend with each other because they do want to start at 3. So if we have reunions at 3 o'clock, because everybody like Vala'au, you want to talk story, it's a little harder, right? Okay, so June 1st, north of Lahaina Luna Road, including Ke'awe Camp and Mala area. This is your neighborhood workshop, planning workshop. June 15, south of Lahaina Luna Road, and on June 29th, historic and business districts. Go to mauirecovers.org for more information. But to help you, north of Lahaina Luna Road includes Ke'awe Camp and Mala. I think you all know your neighborhoods, so this map is for maybe folks who don't know. But this is your area. Your meeting is next week, Saturday, June 1st, 3 o'clock, Lahaina Luna Cafeteria. South of Lahaina Luna Road, residents south of it, including the area known as Shark Pit and Puamana. This is your meeting, June 15th. If you miss it, no worry. We can still catch up to you. We just want you to have these dates so you can plan accordingly if you want to come. All right, and our community planning team runs that workshop. And for June 29th, you can all come. You do not have to live or do business in a historic and business district. We want to keep it open for the community of Lahaina if you want to participate and offer some input on the future of the historic and business district. Please attend this meeting. That will not be the one and done time that people will be able to give some input. We just want to begin that discussion now rather than later. Okay, so busy June, a lot of Saturdays. If you want to come on June 29th, please do. We're going to turn this over to our most favorite colonel in the entire U.S. Army Corps of Engineering, but don't tell Colonel Curry, who was here the first 6 months, because he was our other most favorite colonel from the Army Corps of Engineers. So, Colonel?
Thank you. Maybe I'm the most favorite colonel that's here tonight. And I could also be the least favorite colonel that's here tonight, since I think I'm the only colonel that's here tonight. So thank you for that. Boy, there's a lot going on. I'm super excited about the first permit that was issued over on Komomai Street. I just wanted to give you an update. Talking Little C. So this is cleared residential properties, Little C, as of tonight, 1092. So Capital C complete. So this is now, I remember when I introduced this a few weeks ago, I said everyone's worried about little c, and at some point in the future, you'll worry about capital C. Well, as the permitting process started, now we're worried about capital C. So we're at 532. Now just some more, I'm a math guy, some more numbers here. We've got about 1,315 properties, lots that we have the rights of entry for. So 1092 on our way to 1315. There's about 120 lots, properties, TMKs that are in the works that we are, well, that the county is working with landowners. There's, we've had some challenges with paperwork. I think we've got a path forward on many of those, and so we expect to get many of those here in the next coming weeks, which will increase our denominator, but we're on a great glide path to get those knocked out in the coming weeks. And I think there's still about 28 properties that we are desperately trying to get, well, the county's desperately trying to get a hold of not desperately, that sounds bad, but we are trying to get a hold of the landowners so that we can let them know about this program and hopefully get them to buy into this program and not some other program, because we know that for all of you that have signed up for the program, you want nothing more than to rebuild, and to rebuild on a street that has no remaining debris. So we're all in this together, and we're working hard to get those. On commercial, we've cleared 28, little c, cleared 28 commercial lots, and we're working hard to get that number up, and certainly we want it to be higher by the 28th of June, when you all get together with the commercial owners and try to figure out what the future business and historic district looks like in Lahaina Town, in your Lahaina Town. Also wanted to just give a quick update on housing. We did, if some of you may have signed up for the alerts, if you go on Maui Recovers, there's a link on there where you can sign up for the blasting alerts. Essentially, it can be a text, it can be an email. I get one about every day, and it just tells me what the upcoming blasting schedule is. And some of you are saying, why are we blasting? Well, there's a lot of volcanic rock out there that's pretty hard, and we're trying to do cut and fill operations so we can actually build houses on level ground. It's hard for kids to play if the house is built on a slope, right? All the marbles, run down. I'm just kidding, right? So we want to build these houses on level ground, and so we're doing a cut and fill operation, and we have to do some blasting. It is safe. We've already done 4 blasts, and we're going to continue to blast for the next probably 2 months until we can get enough of the rock out. We will then crush the rock and reuse the rock as part of a cut and fill operation. And then we'll be working with our partners in FEMA to place temporary homes in that place that we're calling Kilohana, which is up Malka of Fleming Road and Wahikuli Road. Okay, almost done here. I know I fielded a few questions outside today, and I'll probably field some more after this. If you have a problem with your lot, if it's not getting cleared, if you have a concern, come find us. Connie, I know you're concerned. We're going to work to get yours fixed. It's on my short list of ones I watch closely. There's an awful lot of red shirts back there in the corner. You can find one of them, tell them your property number, give them your contact info, and we're going to work to get you an answer. You may not like the answer we give you, but you will soon, right? Because there are a few small things we're working through with our contract modifications. We're going to get those fixed. If we haven't already gotten them fixed, we're going to get your property on a runway, and we're going to get it cleared so that you too can start the process to apply for a building permit. And finally, the other day, you might have heard some helicopters in the air. I worked with the Army, and we were able to get a test flight to come over to Maui. I flew over Lahaina Town, your town, and I will tell you that if you've been driving through the streets thinking, boy, this is looking pretty good, I will tell you it looks amazing from the air. There are some streets which have just about every single property cleared of debris and gravel down, and you see lots of little squares of gravel and few piles of gravel. So I think capital C is going to grow here quickly in the next 2 weeks, which is great news for everyone, as that means that you're one step closer to applying for a building permit and getting your home reconstructed in Lahaina Town. And I'll be around at the end of this for any questions. Thank you. And I'll be followed by, wait for it, Joe Campos.
Hello, everyone. I missed the blue box. So I think I'm supposed to stand here. So just to follow up with what the Colonel mentioned for Kilohana, Kalai'ola is also moving full speed ahead. We've cleared quite a bit of land within the last, well, I shouldn't say clear, we've grubbed quite a bit of land within the last month. We also have a blasting schedule. Our schedule is on Tuesday and Thursday. I believe last week we had a town meeting, right, with some of you from Leali'i. So if you were able to attend that, you got information there. But so basically it's going to be about 4 weeks, Tuesday and Thursdays between 1 and 3. Okay. Oh, really? Okay. I just talked to them, 1 and 3. Okay. Okay, well, no worries. So sometime in the afternoon, okay, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so we'll probably go for about 4 weeks. If we need to go beyond that, we'll notify you. But basically, we are looking at getting the first homes ready for people the first week of August. Yeah, so this is amazing work. The governor is really committed to getting people housing options. And so we just want to thank you for your patience. If you have any concerns, reach out to us. We are here for you. So thank you.
We were expecting Carl Banks, the incident commander for EPA, but I understand we have 2 for the price of 1. Jenna Mannheimer and Sebastian Rodriguez, who are going to give us an update from EPA.
Thank you. I'm Jenna Mannheimer, and as many of you have probably heard before, we've been working here since September in various phases. Right now, we're going to talk about the water response that we're carrying on. So EPA is currently taking drinking water samples throughout Lahaina. As many of you have probably heard before, following wildfires, we expect there to be contaminants in certain pipes in the distribution system. So we want to make sure that your water is safe. And we've been working in conjunction with the county, with Maui County, the Department of Water Supply. And we've been sampling the entire distribution system for the last few months. The main lines that run under the streets, the larger distribution lines, in addition to the lateral lines that go to each one of your homes or your buildings. So we're currently at the tail end of that, and I'm happy to share some updates on that. We completed nearly 135 of the main distribution lines. So that's pretty much the entire system minus 3 of them. And we're working to complete those last 3. And then out of the lateral lines, so the property similar numbers to the Army Corps, we have completed over 1,300 samples in the lateral lines. So yeah, we have just a little bit to go. And we are down to the problem children of lateral lines. So we're working really hard with the county to resolve every last line. And the county is also picking up some of the work. And I just have some photos here for you to see an example. In addition to the sampling mission, we are also isolating lines that are contaminated. So any line that has any kind of detect of a harmful contaminant, we are cutting that line at the distribution main. And we're capping it. And this is to prevent that contamination from the lateral line from entering the main distribution line. So just so you have an idea of the work, it involves crews that are digging. In some cases, they have to do a little work to find the line because they're not all marked. So in case you are out there at your properties and you see crews working, in addition to the Army Corps, we have a modest crew, but these crews. So, and this is being done by EPA's contractors. So we're also continuing to work with the county on flushing the areas that are contaminated. The county hopes to lift the unsafe water advisory very shortly after we finish our work here. So just keep in mind that the county is working hard and there's a lot of coordination going on between our agencies, and we want to thank them too. And the good news is we're winding down our response here. We are almost at the completion, and we are going to continue to have a presence here on Maui as an agency, and Sebastian's going to talk about the infrastructure and sustainability. So we appreciate you having us here, and it's been really an honor and a privilege to work here for all of us.
Great, thank you, Jenna. Aloha, everyone. It's good to see you all again. So I'm Sebastian Rodriguez. I am the coordinator for the recovery side of things for EPA. A lot of times when you guys see me up here, I'm talking about wastewater or cesspools. And if you guys have questions about that, I can certainly answer afterwards. I'll be around. But I'm really excited to talk with you guys about another project that we've been working on that I'm finally able to announce with you all. So EPA is providing technical assistance / hiring a contractor on behalf of Maui County to update the Lahaina Master Stormwater Drainage Plan. This request came to us from the Maui Department of Public Works. They identified the need, and they worked with FEMA and with us to get a mission assignment to fund it. So a huge thanks to Maui DPW for coming up with the idea and for coordinating with us, and to our friends at FEMA for the mission assignment that allows us to have funding to be able to do this. So huge mahalo to them. Our hopes for this project. So we think it'll support a more resilient and sustainable stormwater management system, and it'll provide suggestions for green infrastructure and for nature-based solutions. We want to provide these ideas to the county so that as they rebuild infrastructure, they can do so in a way that promotes water quality conservation and also reduces flooding risks. So this will be about a 6 to 8 month project, and there will be plenty of opportunities for public involvement. We want to hear from you all. So in the next couple of weeks, we're hoping to get that project off the ground. We'll have the contractors actually out here. If you are interested, you'll have the opportunity to meet with them, and they'll hear your ideas. And we're really looking forward to working with our partners at the county, with our federal partners, and of course with you all. So a huge thank you to everyone that was involved in this. And if you have questions, again, I will be around. Thank you.
So Mike, as I said earlier, is stuck in Kihei on the other side of the island. He and his team are not able to be here this evening. However, we did get his slides. So I'm gonna do my best. They promised it was simple information, but we'll try our best. So this is from the Recovery Permitting Center. They are now open. Here's their phone number, 270-5724. 270-5724. That's what it looks like. So this picture here with the building, that's where you get your driver's license. That's also where the Department of Liquor Control is. You need to know. I'm not sure, but that's a county building there in Kahului. And they're situated upstairs, and the photo that I'm pointing at on the right side of the screen is what you'll be walking into. But please call them if you have a question, if you're not even sure if you should go in at that given time. So 270-5724, wonderful people at Four Leaf, our contractors. They take walk-ins, and so far they've been averaging 15 a day. So they welcome that. You can do your phone calls. They're taking about 20 a day. They've been very diligent at that. They're looking for July for opening a Lahaina site. So if you can get by with a phone call right now, you can do that. And then if it's easier for you to deal with them when they're in Lahaina, you can visit their site. But you'll have the option of doing both, Lahaina and Kahului is what I understand. So far, as we said, they've moved through the permits and they've begun to issue them. There are 53 as of this afternoon. A little more update from the earlier number on that slide. So this is terrific. We're making some good progress. Please make use of them. They have done this in a number of other disaster situations or recovery situations in different municipalities. So they have the expertise to help us get through. This is probably the one time you'll hear us say, county is, going to try our best, but they can go better. So please use the ones who can help you the most. Fees are waived if you're Kahoma residential. If you have specific fee information questions, I encourage you to call them. I cannot answer that for you this evening, but they did want you to know about the fee. All other permits, 100 of plan review fees and permit fees. I'm actually not sure what that means, but there's no plan review if there's a residential reissued within the last 5 years. So I encourage you to give them a call about your specific property and your permitting needs. Intake, once you call them, you show up, they walk you through it. It's taking an average of 2 to 5 days, 15 days average for review, much faster than our track record, obviously. Other potential timeline factors, estimate shoreline, any of those, we have some of the most heavily layered land use regulated, regulations here in a small town. So it's very complicated. It's not a one size fit all often enough. So we recommend you give them a call and let them help you. Some will require review from different county departments. And of course, during the reviews, there's a need to update the information or try to sort out specific special circumstances. Want to make sure you don't forget, Mike Renner is the project manager. There's his phone number, 924-785-3581. You can call him right now, ask him where is he. He should be here. You can call the office at 270-5724. There's your email, RPC, which stands for Recovery Permit Center at co.maui.hi.us. Easiest way to remember that is county on Maui in Hawaii in the US. So co.maui.hawaii.us. I'm going to turn this over to the Department of Education here, Rebecca. She was, of course, at last night's meeting, and she's going to share with you a very important thing that some of you have brought up to us at our regular weekly meetings on the status of the Kamehameha Third School. So thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you. Okay, I'm happy to share with you the most recent updates from the Department of Education. The current status is the Department of Education has identified 3 sites that are actually within our purview, and we have access to them at this time in order to rebuild a permanent school for King Kamehameha Third Elementary. The Office of Facilities is a department within the Department of Education, using department twice, but they seek out the properties and assess them for viability, looking at infrastructure, timeline, etc. Some of the key considerations for the rebuild are time and cost, which obviously are very interrelated. The longer it takes, the more the cost of the rebuild will be. Of course, we want to get students into a permanent school with permanent facilities as soon as possible. But we also are motivated by the increasing cost on leasing the temporary site. The temporary site right now is pretty close to free. The lease is $1 a year for the first 3 years, but after that it goes up drastically. In addition, the modular units that the students are in, those are leased, and that's a joint funding primarily by FEMA, but the Department of Education contributes a percentage to that. And so as the time goes on, the obligation of the Department of Education increases. But altogether, taxpayer funds, that increases as well. So our goal is to complete the rebuild of the permanent school within 3 to 5 years, which, if you know, that's not usually how fast a school gets built. Some of the other considerations are just the location. Where do we want this to be? The students for King Kamehameha 3 Elementary are spread across West Maui. If you look at the map, there's a small sliver on the southern end where it's all Makai of the highway. And then the majority of the population of students that attend are on the northern end of West Maui. Some families have expressed a desire to be out of the burn zone. Other families express a really strong desire to be back at the original site. And of course, the ideal location would be potential for growth. You know, as families return to West Maui, you know, we have a lot of new building structures going up, but then as we all start rebuilding our homes, you know, it could be that we need a third elementary altogether. Right now, the enrollments are really, really low, but I think it could swing the other way really quickly. The 3 locations that we're looking at right now and assessing, you know, what's viable and what can be done in 3 to 5 years, we looked at the original site. We also looked at a location just below the temporary site in Pulelehua. And then also Ka'anapali 2020, the Pu'ukali'i Village, Malka. The first one, of course, that's the original site, but the other 2, we already had an agreement with developers when we were looking at future growth for West Side. So we have agreements in place, which allows us to move a little more quickly. Looking at the original site, pros, when we were comparing them, the same location, convenient to families, of course, tremendous sentimental value and historical importance of the location. Some of the cons when we're looking at how quickly we could rebuild is it's currently in the burn zone. We still have debris removal and recovery that would, you know, take an unknown amount of time. There are 4 burial sites on the location, so that adds a little bit to the time and the difficulty of how quickly you can move, because you have to have people making sure that we do it appropriately and respectfully. And it's landlocked. You know, there's not really any potential for growth. Looking at Pulelehua, we have an existing agreement with them, and it's 13 acres just below the temporary site. It's reduced commute time for those who live in the Napili and Kahana and that area. It's the only location that we're looking at right now that seems to meet the timeline. And then it would be an easy transition. The students and the families are used to going to the temporary site right now. So it would just be right below that site. That could also potentially be a con in that you would have construction going on right next to the temporary site. So you could have dust and noise. It's the furthest away from the original site. And the traffic situation's unknown. As the housing development builds up around it, we don't know how that will affect traffic in the area. The last one, Ka'anapali Land Development, drafted a master plan, and there's a designated parcel that we could use. It's convenient, and it's somewhat in between the original location and Pulelehua. However, we don't have infrastructure. It would be a longer timeline. There may be other plans with the county. And in discussions with the developer, the timeline looked like it could be up to 10 years. Trying to do a side-by-side comparison of our 3 properties that we have access to. Front Street has a longer timeline, no infrastructure. The price would require significant investment on the part of the department in order to meet new building requirements, including setbacks and height. Location, it's in the original location, but it's in the burn zone, no room for growth. Pulelehua, it would be a shorter timeline. We're already there. We already have agreements in place, and permitting would move quickly. The developer obligations and potential for some FEMA funding might help minimize the cost, and it's potentially closer to other families and room for growth. Kaanapali, it is longer, no infrastructure. The price is unknown and close to families. So yesterday at the temporary location, we had two separate meetings. We had a meeting at 2:30 in the afternoon for staff only, and then another one at 5 o'clock to meet with the community. And the meetings were conducted by an outside facilitator, a third party, neutral, who's gathering the input for us. And we had a feedback form with links to it, and there's a flyer over there on the table that gives you links to all of that information. So we continue to seek input, even though the meetings were yesterday, that those forms will be open through the end of the month. And so we really want to get information from everybody because that is such a historical school and of such importance to our community. You know, a lot of people, even if you don't have students currently enrolled, you may have gone there when you were a student, when it was a K-8 school. And it's just really important to our community. So we want to hear your voice, whether that can move within the timeline, your thoughts about potential and future growth, and when we do need a third school, all of that would be considered and help give us direction of how to proceed in the future. Next steps, once we make a decision on moving to a permanent school and getting out of the temporary school as soon as possible, there will be a series of meetings conducted and led by the facilities department. And we have three meetings planned. If we get the decision made in June, those could start as early as July and go through October. And each meeting has a different purpose. This is where they'd get deeper into the design of the school, what you want to be included in the school, even to the name, whether you keep the name or change the name, those kind of things. All of the programming, that's where you'd get input in that. And when they hold those meetings, they do plan to have them in 3 different locations on the island so that we can reach more people. Everyone wouldn't have to travel to Lahaina to attend the meetings. And so those are our next steps going forward. And the goal is to have a new permanent elementary school as soon as possible within the next 3 to 5 years. Thank you for your time.
All of our speakers will be here as usual for the question and answer session at the end of tonight. So hold your questions, and as always, even when we're done with the Q&A portion, we hang out anyway with all of you. So we're just available. So please keep that in mind if you want to ask a question this evening. Our slides are a little out of order, so I'm going to skip this one and we'll come back to them. But I'm going to turn this over to Mary from American Red Cross.
Hi, everyone. She forgot to say your favorite civilian from Michigan, but that's okay. It's great to see you all. I've so enjoyed coming out here every Wednesday to speak with you. I'm going to give you a couple updates and then introduce you to my friend and coworker on our long-term recovery team. So our midnight shelter count last night reflected 1,105 individuals across 7 sites. That makes up about 452 households. So we're seeing a rate of about 100 households a week moving into their intermediate housing solution. So while our fine friends over here are clearing debris and testing the water and building things, Red Cross shelter teams are having conversations with residents of the NCS program to make sure that they understand what their next step housing solution is and to make sure that they're on the right track to get there. So we're very optimistic to start seeing more and more people move out into their safe and stable housing. And with that, as our disaster relief operation will conclude in tandem with the end of the NCS operation currently scheduled for June 10, you'll see less of my face and hear less of my voice. I'll be taking more of a behind the scenes role, and I'll introduce you to Yvonne McLean with our long-term recovery team. Thank you.
Aloha, everybody. My name is Yvonne McLean. I am the Community Recovery Manager for the American Red Cross Long-Term Recovery Team. I'm actually from Lahaina, graduated Lahaina Luna High School, so I'm really happy to be here and to be serving in this space and back to the community. during this time. As Mary mentioned, as the response operation concludes, the long-term recovery team will begin to stand up. We were, however, here over the last couple of months, really working alongside that team in really developing strong partnerships within the communities to help serve and meet some of the unmet needs into the long term. So I'm really, again, really excited to be here and continue serving in the space over the next couple of years, identifying more unmet needs and ways that we can collaborate with the communities and other agencies to serve in that space as well. One of them being our partners, Maui Food Bank, who will be doing a presentation here. I will be attending these meetings alongside Mary's over the next couple of sessions, so feel free to ask any questions or come up and introduce yourself. And I look forward to working with everybody. Mahalo. So I'll do the introduction. Oh, Mary.
I have to say one more thing to you guys now. We are hosting a young adult career fair on Saturday, the 25th at the Royal Lahaina. That's going to be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Maui College Career Center will be there for resume help. Older teens and young adults looking for a summer employment or mentorship opportunity, strongly encouraged to attend. Again, that's this Saturday, May 25th at the Royal Lahaina from 10 to 1. Sorry to steal your thunder there, Yvonne. And then the next temporary housing resource fair, which is a great opportunity to come and have all your questions answered face to face. We end up matching a lot of people with units during this event. So the next one is on June 1st at the Royal Lahaina from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I just want to say mahalo. It's been an honor to serve this community. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Brandy Zaragoza, Director of Operations for Maui Food Bank. And we're really excited to be here, and I'm with my colleague, and we're actually here to do an announcement. I wish it was a presentation, but it's a quick announcement on what our long-term recovery kind of looks like in partnership with Red Cross and everyone else that's been alongside us during this period. So,
Hello, everyone. I'm Tita Hartman. I'm the agency director at the Maui Food Bank. And like Brandy already mentioned, we're so excited to announce a new program that will be on the west side, and it's made possible by a partnership with the Red Cross. So we don't have a set date yet, but we're hoping around mid-June, so in the next couple of weeks, to open a facility on the west side that will have open distribution to the public. So we're calling it the market, and it will be a market style pantry, if you will, that will have local food, fresh product, proteins, and we're really focused on what the community needs. So also household essentials. We are committed to serving this community long term. So we're planning to be serving the community at this site for the next 4 years. So you can expect us, we'll be there. Now we don't have anything on our website yet. Look out for that in the next couple weeks. We'll have more information, possibly get to come, join you guys in the next couple weeks and maybe talk more and share information about how to get registered for that. The location will be at 48 Ulupono Street. So it's right across from the LDS church. So just a heads up, right below the bypass. I think, what else? We did want to also mahalo our partners on this side already doing feeding efforts. We could not do it without partners, so we do not intend to take over all the feeding that's needed on the west side. We could not do that. And we intend to continue working with the hubs and other outreach programs that are happening, and having this warehouse / market available to the community is just another way that we can bring it closer to this community. So we look forward to serving you guys, and if you have any questions, we'll be here afterwards as well. But thank you. Thanks for letting us share.
Thank you, Food Bank. Before we enter into our question and answer session, where we'll ask you to raise your hand, and we have two microphones running through the area, I will ask you to ask one question. Some of you, we didn't bring our county wrestling team, so we don't want to wrestle for the microphone. We brought all the nice ones, but if you can just be mindful that others may have questions, so we want to move the mic through as much as we can. And just keep in mind, we're here also. I do want to make one additional note tonight. The county has a steering committee. We're working on coming up with ideas for the 1-year anniversary commemorative tribute. And we'd like to honor the families, than those that we lost, our beloved ones in August 8th. So we are working. We've had some questions. People have been calling our offices. Are you folks planning anything? We are. We want to make sure it honors it in the right way. It pays tribute in the right way. And it also acknowledges all of the work that everyone has been doing, from our federal partners to our state, all of you, as they mentioned, the community hubs, everyone, our everyday heroes that have come forward. So we are working on something, hope to announce that pretty soon, in a couple of weeks, and then we can go from there. So we're going to go ahead and start our question and answer period. We have two microphones. Is it Stephanie and Sharon? Oh, okay, it's our S team. Raise your hand. Okay, I see the gentleman here in the front, sir, with the gray vest, followed by, way in the back there in the uniform. And then we're going to go here to the right side after that, Sharon, with the woman in white and the blue, and then Uncle here. Okay, go ahead, sir.
I don't know if the right people are here, but we do have some great bandwidth with Four Leaf in doing producing the permitting stuff fairly quickly. But then there's the other thing that's not ever talked about, and that is the planning department and the permitting department that's still here. Okay, 2 years, more than 2 years ago, I started a process with them, and I walked in and interviewed a couple of people, and they said, well, we have just this one problem. Ever since COVID, we are at least 20 people short in both departments, and that's why everything's so slow. Question is, have we fixed that any way, shape, or form? And do we have a plan? If not, because you can do all the work you do over here, but if you still can't get the other parts working together, you don't move forward. So
I can help with that.
yeah.
Correct. Our personnel services, gentleman is absolutely correct. Like many other sectors, we're short employees. We have several hundred openings in the county of Maui. Practically, if I stand corrected, I might be wrong with one department, but pretty much every single one of our almost 20 departments with multiple divisions have shortages. Everything from planning, permitting, public works, water department, finance, DMV, you name it, we've got shortages. So the question of what are we doing about it? We are being as aggressive as we possibly can. Our Department of Personnel Services, also known as Human Resources and other areas, have been setting up online virtual fairs. Professions have been going to colleges and trying to recruit straight out of there. They're working on incentives. We're working to bring in those who have gone away and gotten there, because even as we hire, the housing situation has been difficult, even if we were to bring from another island or another state. So we're still facing that. Most of our departments have been working really closely with our personnel services to try to bring in as much staffing as possible. There's the onboarding training, period of time. We're making some headway. Engineers have been hard to find. We've been looking for even prosecuting attorneys, corporation counsel, planners, parks keepers, park security, you name it, law enforcement, police has also had a number of vacancies. So we are mindful of that. It comes up in every cabinet meeting at the mayor's level with his department heads. He's asking, how's it going? I do know that Mayor Bisson is having those discussions very regularly, with his leadership to keep an eye on what those vacancies are. Because it's not just vacancies, right? It's how do you do the work. Some of it we've contracted out, things like the 4 leave, things that we can expedite, they have gone out to contract work to keep them from being bogged down even further. It's not so much a funding problem. Funding is always an issue. You know, you can do a lot with a lot of money. You know, you can raise salaries, you can, you know, put in recruitment. Because we're a union as well, local government, so that's a little restrictive in its way. We can't, like the private sector, you know, offer, you know, signing bonuses as a private sector can. So we've had to be a little bit more creative in doing that. But as far as funding, the positions are available. It's more about recruiting and bringing in people. But thank you for that question. It is absolutely what happens after that. We're going to go to the back of the room and then right here with the white shirt and the woman in the blue and then uncle in the front. Go ahead. Oh, hi.
Hi, I just have a quick question on permitting. I was fortunate to land in Wailuku, and I know I'm not the only one. Um, I'm ready to build in Wailuku, and I would really appreciate to be able to expedite my permitting process in Wailuku because that's where I am for the moment. I plan on coming back to Lahaina, but the greatest help that I need right now is to improve my Wailuku location.
Thank you for the question. We've had a number of inquiries as well for those who have temporarily located somewhere else outside of West Maui or outside of Lahaina town. The homeowners webinar is going to address that because we've been getting that question. So hold on to that question. I do anticipate it being addressed next week, Thursday. What happens if you're outside of the burn zone to your permit? And you're building outside of the burn zone. So thank you for the question though. Here to, okay, you and then right behind you. Yeah, both of you. You can junk and pull, but
Okay.
one of you.
First of all, I want to apologize for slamming the door on your presentation in the beginning. I had my cousin and I, we went to the permit office. Oh my gosh, they were so awesome. All right, so I put it on my website. And what they offered was, well, they gave setback information, but they also, just for your information, I think many of you will be very interested in this. They also said many of the plot plans in Lahaina are actually approved for having an accessory home, which is an ohana. And we were shocked. So we asked about a detached ohana as well as a combined accessory where you can have 2 kitchens. I just thought I'd throw that out there. My question to you, though, because this is a question.
And thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention. Because again, call the Recovery Permitting Center
They
for
were,
that.
4-leaf was awesome. And then I had mentioned her about somebody that I know that is doing these emergency homes, and they're turning them around very quickly because of their process is very efficient. The second thing I wanted to bring up is oh, by the way, they are also giving property, we ran into somebody that gives property taxes refunds on the first floor. But back to the permits, my question is, and it's probably something I'm throwing in the suggestion box, is there any way that the County of Maui can pay for CAD designs? Because we asked, does it need to have an architectural design or can we have a CAD designer? And she said, you can have a CAD designer as long as it has an architectural stamp. So that's a lot more affordable. Is it something the county can do so that a lot of these homeowners, because they're kind of strapped with their funds or waiting for insurance money, is that something that the county can do, maybe a lot, $2,000 or $3,000, so that they can at least start pricing their homes? Again, I know you're doing so much as it is, and we're very grateful, but I just wanted to ask if that's possible.
Sure, we can address that at the homeowners meeting. That will be combined with another question that we've been getting about finding sources of funding for costs for architects, plumbers, engineers, the things that are required that may have to come out of the homeowner's pocket. So all of those things, the county, looks to other resources of funding to support that. But let's see what we can do and add that. We do have folks collecting the questions that we cannot answer so that we can be prepared. Thank you for that. Go ahead. Yes.
Geez, I have to follow those questions. That was really good. Back in April, when the water department was here and talking about the laterals, they suggested that we call the water department to get a water meter. So I was just curious, we are in the process of getting our permits. So, and when we called the water department, they didn't know what the process was. They just said, we'll put you on the list. So I was wondering, how do we know when we can get a water meter?
We're going to add that to the questions that they'll answer on Thursday, because you definitely don't want me guessing on that one. I want to make sure we're accurate on that, and we're able to respond on that process for getting the water meter. That's part of the planned presentation. So yeah, I don't want anybody to hold off not asking a question tonight just because you're not here. Part of tonight is to prepare for the homeowners meeting. Thank you for that. Uncle had a question here. Oh, Sharon, go ahead. And then we'll go to Uncle. Oh, is it on?
Ooh. Oh, hi. I'm just going to bring up something that we brought up a couple weeks ago, and I just kind of wanted to check in for the sake of the kids and the kupuna and everybody I was just wanting to see if you guys ever gathered and talked about reopening the parks and the pool. If you guys got anywhere with that, if there's any kind of plan, any sort of logistics that might make it so that by the end of the first year that by a 1-year mark, that might be a really cool celebration to give something back to the community that doesn't just affect the people that were victims of the fire, but the entire West Maui is now affected. And just leading back from COVID, the Civic Center, there hasn't been basketball, there hasn't been indoor sports, there hasn't been really anything in West Maui for the kids. And I feel like they're being extremely neglected. They're not at these meetings, so they can't, bring their voice. So just seeing, and I appreciate, and I know it's very important that we get our homes cleared and that we get the town cleared and we get that, but I see it as a possibility or a goal that can be achieved just looking at that area where the park is at. So I just wanted to know if you guys have gotten any further with the pool or park.
So a couple of weeks ago, our director of the Department of Parks and Recreation, Pat McCall, appeared before a meeting and did an update on that. I do know he's in discussions with his team. We're talking about the whole inventory of parks in Lahaina. Many of our own parks employees on the west side, have also lost their homes, and they're very eager to bring back what we can. We are downstairs today for the sheer reason that they want to give the gym back to the programs. So that is a sign that we're moving forward to make sure those things get in place. The pool is still, as Director McCall had said, is still undergoing an assessment. We had some good suggestions that came out of the other meeting a couple of weeks ago. So he's reviewing it with his team. So I will say it didn't stop there, but appreciate the discussions 2 weeks ago as well. As a reminder that there are recreational needs that will balance off everything else that's going on and support the wellness, the overall wellness of the community. So thank you for that. I look forward to coming back in a few more weeks with a little bit more concrete for the department. Did they have a chance to do some internal discussion? I'm going to go to Uncle here in the back over there. Hi, Uncle. Oh,
thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank all the agencies that is helping Lahaina itself, and they're doing a terrific job. So I think we owe them a big thank you. Yeah, and then I would like to address the situation about the school location. I believe that we in Lahaina had in 1961 or 62 a community plan drawn up, and also a Kanapali 2020, and that not most, but in it, I'm assuming that they had a plan for this particular situation of the school. And why now can't we use that plan, integrated or make it part of the plan to relocate the school? Because we definitely know that Lahaina going to expand it's not gonna just stay the same size. And we know that we're trying to fulfill the cultural needs and the historical needs in Lahaina. And there's many issues that there is right now without addressing that to relocate. So can the county and DOE get together and examine those community plans and execute a better suggestion to the community than just cost and, you know, location, because it involves a habitat, a lively habitat that only will grow, it will not shrink. And you gotta get the room to build around or expand that situation. And people that attending that particular school will have to be within the perimeter, close perimeter of that area, and not, you know, from one end of the island to the other end of the island. So I really feel that the community planning from the 60s and the Kanapali 2020, it's people of the community that made this plan and should be considered too, even if it was, what, almost 50 years ago, the 61 and the 2020, and nothing has been done yet. But, you know, I believe that there's some sort of value to it that we should bring back together with what we're trying to do now.
Thank you, Uncle. I'm gonna let Superintendent comment on that as far as welcoming a review of the past plans and what role that would play as we try to plan going forward for a future school site and a future rebuild.
We're definitely open to looking back at the original plans. I am not familiar with the plan from 1962, but I'll go back to the department and find out, you know, what we have. I reached out to the mayor's office earlier today based on some of the concerns that were brought up last night about wanting to be back at the original site, no matter how long it takes. And a lot of that is kind of part of the bigger picture of Lahaina rebuild that we don't have all the pieces to. So we're going to get together and try to see how the different agencies can work together and look forward. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, Uncle, for that. Okay, we're going to go to Sir here and then, oh, there, in the white shirt. Okay, go ahead.
You brought up the ADU stuff for the residential homes to add. And I have an ag lot and I have more property to make that available. And it's like, no, we don't want you to do that. It's not even thought about. I talked to the mayor about it 2 months ago when we were going through this process of how do we get more stuff quickly. And he said, yeah, it's a great idea. Go build it and we'll fix it later. No, I'm no better than that in Maui. But it's just been ignored as a resource. And I think it ought to be taken into account because I can't build it because if I build something like that and put in a kitchen and a bathroom, then I've gone out of the rules of an ag lot. And it's like, it's a waste.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're noting that one because for ag lots, how does ADU, the accessory dwelling units and opportunities and options apply for ag lots in this situation? Okay, 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 that's a great question. Okay, we went to the back. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, one more.
Sure.
I'm glad it was brought up in regards to the schools. So I was on the West Maui Long-Term Planning Commission in 2020. And my understanding was that they weren't going to relocate Kamehameha Third School. They were going to add another school out north. And that would help with the space at King Kamehameha Third. And it would also help with the traffic out north. So in order to build more out north, they were supposed to put a school out there. So now we're minus 2 schools. So in order for me to realistically, you need to rebuild if 2 schools. So the one right where it was at, ideally, one where it was at, and that would service all the Lahaina kids, the Lahaina proper, and then there would service the kids out north at Pulelehua out there. So, I mean, I don't want us to forget that because right now, while the attention is on us, while the funding is on us, while the money is on us, we should be going big. So the idea was never to just have one school. In my understanding, it was to have an additional school, 2 King Kamehameha III.
In a discussion this morning or today with DOE, that consideration has come up pretty frequently when asked from the community. So I do know, and she's nodding her head, that DOE is mindful of that, the need, the growing needs, the 2 schools, the desire to return back to where it is or was within the Lahaina town. So thank you for voicing that tonight because it reinforces what we've been hearing and a discussion we had with the DOE today about that. So thank you for that. Sharon in the back. Okay, go ahead. Hello.
Hi, I just wanted to make a suggestion about the schools as well. I taught at 3 of the schools on the west side, and I know that historical and the cultural significance, and one of them that I taught at was Camp Third. My thought is to actually put some kind of a expandable museum that you could start out small, you could have donations, and even with the people within our community that have participated, all the families, I would think they would want their generational offspring to see what we had here for the school, and it could be a learning opportunity as well. I just wanted to bring up that suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I see Superintendent nodding her head, so she will keep that in mind. I see 2 hands raised right here in the middle, and then there in the white shirt also right in the middle. So we'll go here where Steph is. Stephanie?
I'm not sure if this is maybe for the Department of Transportation. I've come to every meeting. I don't think I've ever seen them here. But it's great that we're rebuilding and we have apartments above near the Minute Stop, and now we're going to put the ones near Hawaiian Homes. But why are we not thinking about infrastructure? Why are we not putting in the bypass? Why are we not we were given money. Why are we not putting the electrical poles underground like where the train tracks used to be that we're not going to have a train anymore? Why are we can't just keep building. We have a one-way in, one-way out right now to Kamehameha Third School. I work up there, so can you imagine everybody trying to, if there's catches on fire, everybody's going to go down the highway? That's not going to work. I mean, I want everybody to have a place to live, and I know that's our goal. But you have to work simultaneously, and you have to work together. And we were told years ago that we were supposed to have a bypass that went to Napili or up to Kapalua. Where the hell did that money go? I'm tired. I'm a taxpayer, and we are paying for everything here. Believe it or not, even, I don't mean to sound negative, but even the housing, there's 500 units that are empty. I am a company that has housing. I have units that have been sitting empty, and our owners are getting paid. It doesn't take that long to do a background check. It takes 2 minutes. I'm in the business. And so I'm a little frustrated that we are not addressing these issues. And why can't we have the lower highway open from 6 p.m. To 3 to 6 at night and from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning when there's the most traffic? We shouldn't have to sit in traffic coming from Kahana every day for an hour to go 6 miles. I think that the Department of Transportation needs to come to these meetings and they need to tell us where they're giving us roads. I mean, you think everybody's going to come down this road out of Hawaiian Homes when you put these modular homes up here? How congested is that? What are they doing? Anybody have any information on that?
Great. I appreciate it. And I don't see that as negative. I think that's a real question. So it's totally fine. I think these are the things that need to come to the community meetings. So the bypass funding is a state issue, but we are happy to invite the State Director of Transportation, Ed Sniffen, to come. He's supported us in many ways, but maybe he can help us navigate this current question of what is the status, where can we go, what are the options. As far as evacuation routes or managing, any future emergency, I will assure you that our Emergency Management Agency Administrator, Amos Hewitt, who you've all met in previous meetings, will be coming to a meeting in the near future to talk about evacuation planning. He's been in discussions with fire, police, so we're doing some inside work first so that we can come and offer some help. Yeah. So the correct, and you use a very important word, simultaneous. So simultaneous things take, they're pretty complicated, not impossible, but takes a much more coordinated effort between state, county, and of course our federal partners as they begin, their work as well. It's not going to be an answer across the board that's going to be simple, but I think we'll start with trying to bring in the state DOT to discuss that. And then we're still continuing on with debris cleaning, the neighborhood meetings. It's a long road on the planning and the building. So this feedback is important and not waiting to give that feedback. So we encourage that. I don't want you folks never to feel like you can't ask. And this is the first meeting we've had in, I think, 6 months or maybe 5 months that Colonel Curry hasn't answered a question yet. So he's doing a great job talking about working with our federal partners. You made me think of that. We had a question. Okay. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Sharon, on that side, and then we'll catch Stephanie. Go ahead.
My question actually is for you, Mahina. The community requested that the questions that go on unanswered during these meetings, that there would be follow-up for them. And I remember that you personally saying that you were going to do that, and that's months ago. And every week, and I've been coming to these meetings pretty much every week for, I don't know, how long have we been doing this? 8 months, maybe. When you do decide to have them, the community doesn't get to decide when they're canceled. And we often don't know ahead of time, one day, although you folks know ahead of time if you're gonna have them or not. So my question is, can you concretely explain to us what your process is of following up for questions?
Sure. So 2 people are assigned to those questions, and either they're given to the departments to follow up, or we come back with the resource person that can answer. Hence, you see the different rotation of speakers that come in. I can't say that we've been able to answer all the questions. Some have come in through email separately. Some have been, we've asked people to come and meet one of our staff or the mayor's executive assistants to help answer those questions after the meeting. And okay, so we can look at the list. Correct. I think, and I'll be very honest, if you see all the topics that we cover from A to Z, it's quite a substantial amount. Let me finish. It's quite a substantial amount. So when we bring in the resources to help us out, it's when they are available or cannot. I do want to address the cancellation, the 1-day notice. Last week's meeting was canceled and announced as quickly as we can. That was for very safe reasons. We would not want to put people. Okay, that's a, if people want to write their questions down, previously people have not. We have people taking down the questions. Many of the questions are posted as resource on mauirecovers.org as well, looking at the counts people. Okay, we will go back and do our best for the ones that we have not been able to answer, and I appreciate you raising that. That's actually not true. We have answered as best we could at questions for those that have lingered. We've had infrastructure questions. We've had others. We've responded. So I'm absolutely not going to say it's been perfect. but I think the effort has been there, and we'll take a look and see on how we can get better at it. So appreciate that, and thank you. We're gonna go on to the next question. I don't have them emblazed in my memory. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Go ahead. And then we'll go to the back, and then right here to Auntie. Oh, did you have one there? Oh, okay. Sharon, your side, and then right here in front. So go ahead.
Aloha. Speaking of questions from 2 weeks ago, here's a follow-up. How many of you here, with a show of hands, think it's a good idea that cruise ships pass through Lahaina town? Okay, that answers my question.
Could
So
you
that was
repeat your
one of the
question?
questions last week.
Could you repeat your question? Some folks didn't hear it correctly.
Last week or 2 weeks ago, I was just saying the cruise ship that's passing through Lahaina town, and you said you would follow up with that. Okay, I don't know who in your office. I mean, I can make a phone call, but I don't carry the weight of the mayor's office making that phone call. So if somebody in your administration was assigned to that question, I'm waiting. And by the lack of hands, I don't think anybody really wants cruise ships passing through the burn zone in Lahaina town. And then those questions that I asked last week, 2 weeks ago, remember Senator Brian Schatz and the money coming back in, a follow-up with that. Bob Fenton, modular housings. I remember May 10th was a deadline. Now it's June 10th. What happens on June 11th when you're still waiting for your background check? So those questions are very easy to answer from your administration, and I think we're due that. Thank you.
Thank you. And FEMA did respond the last time, I believe. Do we have an update on the June 10th that you would like to share from FEMA? Oh, we're not going to answer for FEMA. We actually bring FEMA, so we'll see if they can offer. The question is, it was extended from May 10th to June 10th, and what can we anticipate happening on June 11th? And what moves are being done between now, I'm going to interpret that, to June 10th.
So the answer is that we are making every attempt to have everyone placed prior to the June 10th deadline. And we will work with those individuals that happen not to meet that deadline on a case-by-case basis.
Background checks are taking way too long. My landlord worked for the police department right here in Lahaina. He's still waiting over 1 month. I mean, the police still can't get a background check. And I'm still waiting for our property to be cleared. It's on the runway, so I'm told. But you know what? We're still waiting. And then again, the cruise ships. How many of you people think it's a good idea that they're cruising through Lahaina town right now? I would like that to be answered tonight.
Background checks are being done by our contractors. And I don't have a particular time period for those. They're being done as expeditiously as possible. And we will continue to follow up with them to see if we can speed those up.
Okay, and the cruise ship. So now we'll go to Auntie here, and then we have one more question here, Sharon. So you're correct. You asked about the cruise ship 2 weeks ago. It was assigned out. I cannot tell you tonight the answer. I personally do not have the answer. Does it help? Let me ask you this. When we have these questions, would it help if we had a page on Maui Recovers that just puts that question and put the answer? Okay, can we solve it that way? All right, so because we wouldn't bring in a cruise ship resource, sometimes we have a lot of questions for the night, but as we collect them, rather than a one-off answer to the individual, we can at least run a list, and then that way everybody sees it. You want to try that? And we'll start with the cruise ship. We'll get that answer up. Okay, Thank you. I appreciate that. We'll go to Auntie here and then oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Wait, Auntie. She was waiting first. Okay, go ahead, Sharon.
I have two questions. I don't know if the
Sure.
EPA people can answer it, but last night it was asked at the meeting last night about the sewage usage. Like if we start rebuilding, are the sewer lines in like kind of below Kilauea, Mauka, that neighborhood in Mill Camp? Like, are they looking at the sewage, being able to get where we have had sewer hookups? Are we going to be able to access that? Would the EPA be able to answer that? Are they working with the county?
Looks like they're willing to address or try.
I don't know about that specific neighborhood offhand, but if you want to come find us afterwards, we can look on the map. We have a database that we handed over to the county after the sewer. I'm looking at you. Are you the one who asked? Oh, sorry. After the sewer line inspection and clearing was completed, we cataloged every single line, over almost 100,000 linear feet of line, and there were about 8,000 that were damaged or blocked. So I can look on the map to see if your area was cleared, if you'd like to know.
Okay, thank you. And if there is a county related, oh, you had a second question. Oh, go ahead.
So my second question, I don't know if anybody's here tonight that can answer it, but if we apply for a permit and it gets sent back to us saying, no, they want to widen our streets or do something like that, will we be refunded our like permit fees and the fees that we had to pay? Because if we're going through the architect plans and submitting the permits and having to pay that money, and then have you guys come back and say, oh no, your setbacks need to be further, we're going to widen the streets. Now we just, architect fees down the drain, the permit fees, like how, is there like a refund if we get denied because the county's making a decision to do that?
That's a terrific question for 4-Leaf. If you'll call that 270 number and ask them what happens in those situations. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I forgot.
I didn't want the colonel to be left out.
Has he been looking at you saying,
regarding
Auntie, ask me a
the
question?
Kilohana project, the one-way, Fleming Road is the only access in and out?
I'm glad you asked that question. I was actually going to respond to the other transportation question. So let me hit that one first, then I'll come back to yours because they're related. So transportation in Lahaina town is a big concern. I've heard people talk about it. I know the bypass is a 40-year problem and it's still not solved yet. We are building infrastructure at Kilohana, and the state is building 450 units north of Kilohana. And these are temporary facilities, and they're temporary for 3 to 5 years, depending on the site. They might both go to 5 years. And the idea is that as we rebuild in Lahaina town, we would take the population that's in those temporary sites and they would sort of move back to their homes, right? So it's not quite a zero sum, but that's kind of the idea. That's kind of for water, for wastewater, et cetera. So the infrastructure that's there, the federal government would never build, I say we would never build a site that didn't have access to roads. So we are going to tie that Kilohana site into the existing infrastructure to allow the residents there to be able to access the existing infrastructure in Lahaina town. It is not going to include the bypass. Although we would love it to, it's not going to include finishing the bypass. But I do work with the state project officer, project manager every day, the core project, FEMA, and we are trying to solve the transportation issue. I've broken it into 3 buckets, and I'll just take an extra minute here. The 3 buckets are: there's construction traffic, there's residential traffic, which will occur post-construction, and there's emergency evacuation planning and the traffic associated with emergency evacuation should the county need to do an emergency evacuation. They're all related, and they would all, in theory, if they were fully built out, use the same basic infrastructure. So we are focused right now in this temporary housing site on the construction traffic. That's the most important thing, with an eye on, can we convert the construction traffic that we put into the resident traffic? Because I said we wouldn't build a site if it didn't have access. So currently, based on our environmental assessment that we completed, we were going to use Fleming Road and, I'll say this wrong, Wahikuli Road. So Wahikuli is the inbound right now off of Hanoapi Ilani Highway. That's for all of our debris traffic. So that will, so our four-wheelers, our small construction traffic that gets to the construction site, these are our foremen, our equipment operators, they will take Wahikuli in the morning up into the Kilohana site or the state site, and then at the evening they will come back down Fleming, because that is the egress route for the debris traffic. And we're trying to keep those roads moving in the same directions, especially as we enter and exit Hanoapi Ilani Highway. And we are using our construction traffic, our bigger trucks are going to enter off of Kiawe Street. We're working on improving the Malka Kane Road so we can bring construction traffic in. This is construction traffic in to those sites. They will drop off whatever equipment or loads they have, then they will exit down through Fleming onto Hanoapi Ilani Highway, and they will move back through south through that highway, through the impacted area, and then back out on the backside, on the south side of the bypass. That will keep the Kiawe Street and the main bypass clear for existing residential traffic. When we complete the construction phase, the plan is to use those two, that site will be tied into those two routes. I know this is a point of contention. There's also Lealihi Parkway, and that's also, all these are points of contention. I'm not saying that I have the final answer for residential traffic. As I said, we spend hours a week around a map and a table trying to solve this problem and working on what solving those three buckets, right? And then figuring out, well, if there is an emergency evacuation procedure during construction, do we have the protocols in place to say allow residents to use those same access if they had to move Malka of Hanoapi Ilani Highway to, in the case of, some tsunami or some major environmental concern, they could use those same routes. So we are having those discussions. I will say that we don't have the final details worked out, but we are trying desperately to get the construction traffic worked out. I think we've got a really good plan, and then that will morph into the residential plan, and then we're working through FEMA and the long-term recovery to get the evacuation routes, because we've heard you, and we know that evacuation planning is critical to this island, especially given that there are limited egress and ingress routes into this, into and out of Lahaina town. So I don't know if that answer your question or not. And then that was answers the transportation question. We are working on it, and hopefully we'll have some more details here, especially as it regards to residential traffic in the coming weeks. You're welcome.
Thank you, Colonel. Go ahead, Sharon.
Oh, hi.
We saw you.
Yeah, regarding that construction equipment, it's going like 5 feet from my severely autistic grandbaby's window every morning, and we were very patient in the big construction site right now off of Kiawe. We never said a word because we understand, how necessary it is, and we were blessed that our house didn't burn. But now the construction stuff starts at 3:30 in the morning. I mean, no matter if we're talking a huge impairment to living. You know what I mean? We sat through all this. There's another way for those construction things to go around. That's not going to affect the kapuna, the babies, kids are off of school. If they're you know what I mean? They can find a way for the construction. It's like every morning it's a huge parade 5 feet from our window. It's horrible. We got to find another route for that. And also, the basic traffic. How do we know where the traffic, how you guys are going to manage all that? Are you going to post it somewhere?
We will put out a public news release on our traffic pattern when we finalized all the details of it. I did hear of your concern, and we are trying to work it. Hopefully, much of that construction traffic will not be passing by your house, effective really this morning and from here forward, with a lot of the smaller construction traffic There will still be some larger pieces of equipment which will pass down that road, until which time we can get the Malka Cane Road, the Cane Road that's further up on Kiawe Street, improved and safe enough to bring in heavy construction equipment. We are balancing public safety, expediency, being respectful of the community members that live there. We have the challenge is that there's community members that live all throughout this community whose houses were not impacted, whose lives were impacted, and we're trying to minimize the impact to them while also trying to keep forward momentum on this so that we can get the rest of the community who's desperately needs more permanent housing, get many of you back into more permanent housing. But I would be interested in talking to you after this is over and seeing if there's anything else we can do to increase your your security, your feeling of security around your property until we can finish solving this this transportation concern. So I do appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you. Any other questions on transportation?
What is the criteria for your choices of where you clear, the lots you clear and the lots that you avoid clearing? Is there any sensible or rhyme or reason to that selection?
Yes, sir. Great question. So the county gave us essentially 3 priorities initially that we put into the contract, and those are properties that have debris on them that are around ecologically sensitive locations. So these are locations which, if we had a major rainstorm, could potentially impact the debris, could wash off the lot and impact the environment. So that was the first one. The second one is properties that were located in the near vicinity to homes that were otherwise could be occupied. Right, so these are the standing structures which have water, power, sewer, or the residents willing to live in them without maybe one or all of those. But the structures are standing, and the neighbors all around them, those houses were impacted by the fire. So we want to get rid of those. We want to start those properties first, so that we can get that homeowner whose house is still standing able to move back in, or at least comfortable that the immediate hazards around them have been contained. And the third priority is we wanted to start from the outside in, so that we could eventually start to collapse the security posture and the checkpoints, bring them in, so that people who live on the periphery of the impacted area and whose houses are still standing didn't have to fight through checkpoints and didn't have to be, to be bothered more or impacted more as they were also trying to survive and recover from the tragedy. So those are sort of the 3 criteria we had. We also, on top of that, we overlaid the fact that we have on any given day about 40 different crews working. That's everything from primary debris removal crews to tree crews to soil sampling crews. And so just think 40 different crews. Each crew is anywhere from 5 to 8 to 10 people, 5 to 7 vehicles. So we can't have them all work, say, from the north to the south or Malka to Mackay, because they'd be on top of each other. And we're trying to ensure public safety and expediency, right? We don't want all of our trucks competing for the same shared piece of infrastructure, same intersection, and we create a traffic jam. And while areas where we're not working has no traffic, and yet it's full of debris. So we had to just spread those 40 different crews out across Lahaina town so that we can efficiently move through the impacted areas. A further condition, I'm just kind of giving you some of the background. A further condition was when we first awarded the contract, we had 267 rights of entry, 267 tax map keys that we could work on the first day of residential debris removal, which was the 17th of January. And so because it was based on when you signed up and us needing to get the contract awarded, those 267 weren't all in the same neighborhood. They weren't all Puamana, Kahoma. So they were all over the place. So we started all over the place, and then we tried to align along those 3 priorities that the county gave us. And then the other challenge is, believe it or not, that not everyone has signed up for the program yet. And so as crazy as that may sound to me or to you, there's still some people, took them a while. And there were some people that tried to sign up. They were early adopters of the ROE program, but because of conditions that they couldn't easily overcome, because of legal concerns, because of deed challenges with maybe the person's name was on the deed, had maybe passed away before, during, or after the fire, and you can't just accept a piece of paper, an ROE signed by anyone. It has to be signed by the rightful owner or the heir, the legal sort of heir of that property. And so some of that was a challenge. And then we had other challenges where people had certain conditions that they wanted, and we were trying to work through some of those conditions. So that's why it seems like, well, the excavator's here and the lot next to it is got debris on it. Why didn't the excavator just, go 20 feet away and start the next property? Well, some of that's because of the way the ROEs came in, and we might not have that right of entry for the next property. A condition that I put on my team was I want to avoid damage to the infrastructure. So if we're going to track a 200, 300 series excavator into a neighborhood, I don't want to be tracking it into a neighborhood. It's a fancy way of saying driving it into a neighborhood, and then driving it a mile to a different neighborhood, and then driving it another mile back. Because that just, every time you drive an excavator on the pavement in Lahaina town with the 85-degree sun beating on it, you increase the wear and tear on the roads. And although we're trying to be as fast as we can, I also am mindful that it's power, water, sewer, debris, housing. Just throw in regular infrastructure. Maybe it's the sixth priority. We have to get all of these things. We have to be mindful of all of these different areas, so that when the federal government and the state government have, finished helping the county recover, right, and you can go have your town back to rebuild, that we haven't done, additional harm to your community, right? So we try to balance all of those things, and we want to leave this place ready for you to build, as we saw earlier with our resident that got a building permit on Komomai Street. That's a long answer. I hope I answered your question. Okay. Yes, sir. Yeah, so the question is it possible to have topsoil brought to the property versus crushed gravel? The answer is no. The answer is no for several reasons. In Kula, we used hydroseed as opposed to crushed gravel. But hydroseed requires, the hydro portion of hydroseed means it requires water to grow. And given the climate in Lahaina town, the fact that we have, depending on where you live, you may have no power to run a pump or to run a sprinkler or a water unit. And maybe not having power means you're not going to actually be there frequently throughout the day. Having maybe no water or intermittent water, because the water department is desperately trying to get all of the water lines cut and capped. We can't guarantee that you're going to actually have the ability to, even if you were in town and you could get to your home every day, that you'd be able to realistically water the hydro seed, the seeds after we put it down in Lahaina town. So crushed gravel is the best method. If we put topsoil down, what would happen is in short order, it would dry out. We would get 50-mile-an-hour winds, and we would have blowing topsoil. And if you didn't rebuild right away, because frankly there's 1,600 homes that need to rebuild, and it's going to take some time to get 1,600 homes under construction, that we didn't want your topsoil to be in the ocean or on your neighbor's property or in your neighbor's lungs. We wanted to keep what was on the ground, and crushed gravel is the most effective way. Though not ideal, right? I've been heard this for months. This is not ideal for me. It's not ideal, but it is better than the alternative, and it is in the best interest of the health and safety of the community. So, hope that answered your question. So even though I started out and didn't get a lot of questions, I finished and got a lot of questions. So you can ask it. I'll just repeat it. Yeah.
taxpayer is going to make up the difference. Since we've got permits issued, do we know what it's going to be per lot for the debris removal and what the cost is going to be?
So that's a good question. The cost to a landowner is not going to exceed the amount of money that you have as a debris rider in your insurance policy. So if your insurance policy says, I will cover this property at ABC Front Street for $38,500 specifically for debris removal, you will get a bill from the county that came originally from FEMA for $38,500. Now, it's not to exceed that. Let's say, because we take the debris that's in the ash footprint, right? Let's say you have a large property and you had a small home, and so the amount of debris we took was small, but there's other debris on your property that was ineligible for our program, and you went out and hired you talked to your insurance company, and your insurance company said, yes, that is eligible debris for your insurance policy, and you went out and you paid XYZ excavation company to remove a pile of sheet metal or some other things from your property that were not eligible for the USACE FEMA program, and that cost you $1,000, you would have to remit to the county $38,500 minus $1,000, and you would hand them a receipt for $1,000 saying, this is what I paid for debris removal that was not covered under the core FEMA program. So that's how the program works. If you opt out of the core program, I think the question you're asking me is, could I do it for less than $38,500 or whatever the number was, right? We won't have the final number until the mission is over. But it takes us about a day and a half, about an average of a day and a half to do primary debris removal on a lot. Now, if your lot is multiple acres or full acre and you have multiple tiers, it could take 10 days to do your lot, or it could take a half a day to do it if it's a postage stamp lot, or you only had maybe your Ohana home that burned and not the main home, right? But it is far more than just the amount of time you see an excavator parked in your driveway. There is an awful lot of prep work that goes in that has a value to it. There's soil sampling and lab work that has to get done. Every truck that leaves, if you were to do it on your own, there is a mileage and essentially what we would call a tipping fee that you would pay. And tipping fees are based on basically the landfill that you would take it to, or the disposal sites you would take it to. And those are, I guarantee you, more expensive here than they are in the other places where maybe you had to join the core program. At last count, I think it was, I think there was 28 homes, TMKs, that the county had not heard from the resident, period. And last count, I think I had said 120 earlier. I think it was actually 117. That number sticks in my head. Right around 120 people who have expressed interest in the program, either applied for the program, are pending some kind of paperwork. Tonight we were talking about another concern. It's the way the deed is. The person that was on the deed is no longer with us, and so we have to get there's a legal process through probate where the deed, the court basically reassigns ownership to the next of kin, and so then we get that legal document, and that allows the county to then issue the core through FEMA the right of entry for us to then do the thing. So there's probably a dozen reasons why there's 117 or 120 people are in some kind of waiting status. I couldn't tell you. I mean, I couldn't tell you, each one. But the number that I'm really trying to get at is the 28. And I'd love to be able to reach out to all those people and just explain the program and give them some straight talk and some facts so that they can call the county and at least have the conversation. The program might not be right for them. I don't know, but I'd rather have them have that conversation and decide it's not right for them than to not have the conversation and later decide, well, if I'd known about it or whatever, I might have signed up for it. So if you haven't signed up or, you know, yes. Right. So if you have so the question is how do I get power, water, sewer to my property? So the county through the Corps, the EPA, and others are working hard to get those services reestablished in every neighborhood. I think what you'll find here as we had the first permit issued, I know there are some properties out there that have a temporary power pole that's been installed by an electrician and that they've called HECO or MECO and have put a request in to get the lines run from the transformer to their temporary power pole, which is sort of how residential construction or commercial construction works. I know it's frustrating because you're desperate to get this process started. I think like it took us a couple weeks to get the debris program really up and running and the kinks worked out of it. It took the county and Four Leaf a couple days, couple weeks to get the permitting process really going. This feedback is great, and I think as more people call to get these services installed, the system, the protocols will become much more refined, and it'll be much more efficient, and you'll be less frustrated. Thank you for the question, though. I think I'm getting the hook here.
Thank you. Great question. And again, our team will be here. We've been at it for a couple of hours, so we're going to wrap up here with Uncle being our final question tonight. And where did our microphone people go? Could you please give Uncle the microphone? He'll be the last one, and then we'll all be here as usual. Right here. Yeah. Go ahead.
For a second round, but I really need to know what the cruise ship is about and what is the reasoning for, a question of who wants to see the cruise ship or not pass through Lahaina. Can I have a reasonable answer to that?
She was asking if anybody supported having a cruise ship. Obviously, nobody did because nobody, raised their hand. We are going to post that. We agreed that we would start to list all the questions on the Maui Recovers, starting with the cruise ship, and then put the answer on that. So we don't have a cruise ship representative, and I have to follow up with who was going to check with them. You have one more question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying, but the question I'm asking is so I can leave this place with some sort of sanity, because
Me too.
yeah, because by asking a question like that, it practically offends me because I don't see the disaster as a bad thing because of all the good things happening to it, coming out of it. A cruise ship, if I read in her right, the cruise ship is like saying, I don't want you to see our, bad stuff or bad sights. But to me, you let the cruise ships come by, the tourists come by, maybe you get 1 millionaire on there. And he might look at Lahaina town and say, you know what? My heart goes out to them and I'll donate something. I mean, come on, let's be real. We're out of the agriculture business now, and we're in a tourist industry. Let's make use of it, you know. That's how I feel. I don't know about everybody else, but that I can raise my hand up, you know.
Oh, okay, one more. Go ahead.
Is there a fourth site for the Kamehameha Third School that can be suggested later on? Or is this Kamehameha Third School relocation for a permanent site mandatory at a time and date? Or is it, you know, where we can look into it?
Superintendent, the question is it locked into the 3 sites, or does DOE welcome a fourth option, or how open is that opportunity?
I can't answer that definitively. All I know is the directive I have at this time is what can we move quickly to get out of the temporary site. Whether there's a fourth site, that would probably involve other entities that we have to consult with. I don't know of a fourth site at the moment unless that millionaire who's coming by decides they want to donate some land. Okay. Yes, I would say we welcome any input. We have the flyer over there. I know your daughter picked up a form or has access to all that. So bring us those ideas.
Thank you. And we're going to allow one more question. Sir, go ahead.
About 4 weeks ago, went to a meeting that was on a land trust. And when I was at the meeting, I asked about the land that belongs to Kamehameha Schools, which is on the Malaya side of Lahaina Luna Road and goes nearly up to the L and close down. And I said, I just asked about that land and what would happen to that, because it's basically where the fire started. And I suggested that maybe CAM third grade school could be put on that land. And the woman said, I want to introduce you to this other lady who's a representative of CAM schools on Oahu that owns the land. And so I sat and talked to this woman for nearly an hour, and they are very open to developing that land, and they're very open to donating a chunk of that land to DOE in order to put the school there. And the site could be open, but it could be near where the swimming pool and park already is, so that it's in the, close to the Moku'ula district, where, the reason that everybody wants to keep it in the harbor is because it's part of Moku'ula and it's named after Kamehameha III. And they're very open to that idea. And I think that the DOE should be looking at those people and asking the question, can we work something out to get 20 acres of their land? Because they're going to develop it anyway and try to help house more Hawaiians, because that's what they do.
So Kamehameha Schools Bishop Estate is the landowner, Mauka, of that area. And I see Superintendent nodding her head on that discussion as an option. I'm sure that connection will be made. And if you want to see her right after and who? Okay, oh, as far as a fourth site. Okay, there's a fourth site. Oh, okay. The community land trust meeting, separate meeting. You're having separate meetings with the Kamehameha School Bishop Estate. That's how we like you. Okay, so that's a fourth site that Uncle is talking about, and obviously there's some community discussion already going forward with Kamehameha Schools Bishop Estate. Thank you, sir, for bringing that. We're going to wrap tonight's meeting. Our team is here. Mahalo you for being here. Please drive safe and be safe during graduation season. Aloha.